You know, I hear this a lot and understand this sentiment. Does child support send men into poverty? I hear that a whole lot. And here's the deal. Here's the way I look at it. And here's what I think child support attempts to do. Let's say that you're the father of a child and you're living with the mother of the child. You have a family unit. You're both living in the same location, an apartment, a house, whatever. You're both contributing to the upkeep of the child. Part of your paycheck as the father goes into a common fund that pays for the food, clothing, and shelter for that child. Now, when you break up, should you not still be responsible for a portion of that food, clothing, and shelter for the child? And if you pay that, is that going to send you into poverty? Well, if it didn't send you into poverty before, it shouldn't send you into poverty now. And I think that's what child support and the child support laws tend to do, is maintain the status quo as if you were still together from a financial standpoint. So in that sense, it really shouldn't send men into poverty. Nathan was sentenced to almost a year and a half in jail for violating an order of protection. It seems as though the mother of his child, Lynn, and him just couldn't get along. She eventually went down and got an order of protection from the court, and that order of protection said that he had to stay away from her. He could have no contact with her by phone, text message, email, regular mail, any type of contact, either direct or indirect with her. Well, as we neared the end of that 1 year order of protection, he decided it was time to start texting again. So he texted her 51 times. He was found guilty of 51 instances of violating the order of protection. He was sentenced to 10 days in jail for each violation, which amounted to 510 days. That's a long time to spend in jail for 51 text messages. But when you have an order of protection against you, you've got to obey the order of protection. If you don't, that's what's going to happen. You're going to go to jail. Should you wait before you file for divorce, or should you go ahead and pull the trigger now? Should you wait until some mythical time in the future where it may be easier or better? You know, I get that question sometimes from people, and here's the answer. It may not be in your best interest, especially if you're the primary breadwinner. And here's why. Because if you are the primary breadwinner, you're probably the one contributing to the 401k, the IRA, the savings, whatever it is for retirement. Well, guess what? That's marital property. And it's going to remain marital property until the judge bangs the gavel and orders you divorced. At least in Tennessee, that's the law. So the date of separation doesn't matter. It's the date of the final decree of divorce. So even if you're separated for a long period of time, all that money that you're contributing to your retirement accounts, it's marital property, and it's going to be split at the end of the divorce. So in those situations, it's probably not better to wait. It's probably better to go ahead. Now, that's not to say that if you can save your marriage, you shouldn't try to do that. But if you can't and you know it's irretrievably broken, then I'd go ahead and file sooner rather than later. Mom refused to let Dad see the child, so Dad stopped paying child support. Dad reasoned that if I don't get to see my child, I shouldn't have to support my child. I shouldn't have to pay the mother who refuses to let me see our child. And what she was doing was she would simply secret away with the child when it would be Dad's time for visitation. Dad would call or text. She wouldn't respond. She wouldn't pick up the phone. If she knew he was coming over, they would leave. If he did come over and knock on the door, she wouldn't answer the door. Simply refused to let Dad see the child. So Dad refused to pay child support. Here's the problem with that, is you've still got an obligation to support your child. You've got other avenues such as contempt for enforcing your right to see your child. If Mom's violating a court order by not allowing you to see your child, you take her to court and you get the court to lock her up. You get the court to change custody. There are lots of remedies, but not paying child support is not one of them. You can get in trouble that way. What do you think about that? Mom and Dad were getting divorced after 5 years of marriage. They had a 3-year-old child, and they had agreed on everything. They got along really well. It was amazing. They both had agreed on the property division. They both agreed on equal parenting time, equal responsibility with the child. They were really getting along well. But the problem came up in child support. Mom and Dad didn't want to pay child support. Neither one of them wanted it. Neither one of them wanted to pay it. They were in agreement on this point. The problem is the law required Dad to pay $450 a month in child support. That was the law. And the court was not going to approve their agreement without that child support provision in it. So here's what they decided to do. And I do not suggest doing this, but here's what they decided to do. Dad was going to pay Mom $450 a month in child support, and Mom was going to turn right around and gift that money back to Dad. That's how well they got along. Now, the thing is, the court really couldn't do anything about that because mom was free to gift money to anybody she wanted to. Dad was paying his child support. Mom was just gifting it back to him. Now, if the courts had ever gotten wind of the fact that the child was suffering in some way because of this, then both parents could have gotten in trouble. Otherwise, there's not a lot the courts could do. What do you think about that?